Heb je je naam in je rug, Tim? Kijk.
Dat is toch een goede overvlak, hè? Of, dat is toch geen Duitsland? Maar er is heel veel Duitsers daar zo. Duitsers.
Okay, let's start. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, there's fewer and fewer people. We can see everybody's back to work, thinking about everything except rugby. Tonight is Deutschland. Okay, it's also the last webinar before the holidays. I think everybody's seen that on the 24th of August, we will have the much awaited session on new laws. Okay. To be clear, from World Rugby, there aren't any new laws. Okay, so no new laws for next season. There will be new laws in the Dutch competition for the youth. Okay, so on the 24th of August, we will talk about law application and the new laws for the youth. Tonight, once again, it's great to see so many referees get involved. Back to the youngsters. Liam, who are you?
Wie ben ik? Nou, ik ben Liam Wright, al een tijdje scheidsrechter bij Rugby Nederland in de ereklasse. Af en toe ook wat papierupdingen mogen doen. Ook scheidsrechteropleider. En ik ga vandaag Dan assisteren over line-outs en mauls. Dus als jullie vragen hebben of vertaling nodig hebben, want Dan gaat het in het Engels doen, dan ben ik er voor de vertaling. En ik zal mijn gedeelte ook voornamelijk in het Nederlands doen. Dus ik ben er om te assisteren.
Oké, great.
Doe je het met gebarentaal, Liam?
Ik kan mijn best doen, maar ik ken er maar een paar en ze zijn niet heel vriendelijk.
Okay, so before handing over to Dan, if you have a question tonight, just unmute yourself and ask the question, please. Yeah, just unmute. There's not hundreds of people in the chat. There are no stupid questions. Okay, your question can be in Dutch or in English. Of course, Dan is gonna try to speak English. Yeah. Okay. If you've got a question, just unmute and ask your question. Video out, please. Then we keep the bandwidth for ourselves. Mute, want to ask a question, unmute, back on mute, please. Dan, over to you. Can you please tell us who you are, Dan?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you very much to the rest of you for having me here today. It is my pleasure to work alongside what I've been told as the Netherlands' most good-looking referee, Liam Wright. And so obviously, as previously said, I will do part of the presentation in English, and any questions or any concerns rather can also be made in Dutch over towards Liam. So our topic for today is the line-out and maul. And if you just give me one moment, I will share my screen. So I'm hoping that you can see my screen.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect, wonderful. So this was a presentation that was given just last week by Anna Roland from World Rugby around the focuses around line-out and maul. They did some interesting findings, and so unfortunately some of the graphs are a little bit out of placement. But one of the main sort of focus areas, and this is a graph showing the amount of penalties that were given around lineout and maul. So in the orange section, some interesting statistics that the majority of penalties were for early contact on the lifter, collapsing at maul, side entry at maul, swimming. If you're unsure what swimming means in the context of lineout and maul, we will get to this very soon, and we will explain it in a little bit more detail. And finally, obstruction. And so 84% of the penalties here were around the contest, and 16% of penalties and free kicks were given at the setup, so that is prior to the ball being thrown into the lineout. One of the interesting areas of the Rugby World Cup in 2009 is that this area here, where maul tries and no tries, so this was an area that was seen as a weakness for specifically high impact decisions. And so high impact decisions are a decision made by the referee in the game that has some form of play or some form of impact on the actual game itself. So a call that was made that led to a try or led to no try. Another part that showcased this weakness in the lineout and maul for the Rugby World Cup was that it was actually very close towards the tackle and side entry, which was quite surprising for those taking these statistics. And so what this graph is showing us is that the referees made a lot of what was called non-decisions. And so therefore, what a non-decision is that something would have happened in the game, perhaps a free kickable offense or a penalizable offense or something along those lines. And the referee did not make a decision based on anything in particular. Perhaps it was something along the lines of keeping the game flowing or something like that. Yeah. One interesting statistic here is that this is not surprising. There are actually a lot of rules around the lineout. In fact, there are more rules around the lineout than in the entire sport of football. Yeah. So us as referees, we have a lot of things to look at. We have a lot of things to process at the lineout. And one important message that came through, particularly at a community level, is that referees have been seen to sort of take lineouts as a bit of a mental break in between general play. And this can be a little bit dangerous, and this has been seen here by these statistics, is that when we drop our mental capacity around lineouts and mauls, then some of the decisions that we see, we end up not calling. So let's keep this in mind, that the lineout and maul is still an incredibly important restart of the game. And therefore, it is not something where we come and take a break, but it is therefore a place where we need to switch on even more. Liam.
Ja, thanks Dan. Nou, ik ga dit stukje even in het Nederlands doen. Wat Dan heel mooi zei, is dat ja, line-outs worden vaak als een soort van rustmomentje gepakt. En wij denken van, nou ja, dat is dus niet zo heel verstandig. Maar wat het handige is om voor jezelf te doen, is eigenlijk hetzelfde als wat we zeggen bij scrums. Hè? Is dat je, een mooie zin die ze gebruiken is set up for success. Nou ja, zorg dat als je de condities allemaal goed zet, dat waarschijnlijk de line-out dan ook goed zal verlopen. Daarvoor zijn er 3 voorbeelden of 3 onderdelen daarvan waar ze zeggen, nou ja, als jullie hier goed op focussen, op alle levels van rugby, dan ga je waarschijnlijk heel veel van die gemiste penalties of al die penalties die wel gecallt zijn, voorkomen. Hiervoor hebben we 3 voorbeeldvideo's die we ook zo meteen gaan laten zien. Maar ik zal ze eerst eventjes doornemen. Of tenminste, ik ga ze één voor één met je doornemen. Dus het eerste is, players must set on the mark immediately. Dus dat betekent dat ze op de goede plek moeten gaan staan. Dan, would you play the first video for us? A bit bigger, please.
Sorry. Rugby have some issues with setting up their PowerPoints. Let me just quickly change that for you so we can play in full screen.
Yeah. Wat je hier hebt kunnen zien in deze video, en maybe then you can play it again or go through it in slow motion with your cursor, and I'll talk the guys through it, guys and girls. Is dat wat je hier ziet, dat staat er ook boven. Players must set up on the mark and not close the gap. De scheidsrechter geeft hier een goede free kick. Dus Fiji, die worden op hun mark gezet, maar lopen langzaam naar voren. Dat zie je ook. Je ziet een scheve lijn. En als er nu een line-out zou komen, nou, dan zal die waarschijnlijk niet goed gaan voor Tonga. Dus een oplossing hiervoor is nou, je zou ze kunnen vragen om even terug te stappen. Maar op dit moment, deze spelers weten wat ze moeten doen. En er wordt een free kick voor gegeven. Okay, Dan, thanks for that one. Ik ga... Wait, before you go to the next one. Een mooi ding om hier te doen, van je wil natuurlijk niet alles zelf doen. You don't want to do everything yourself during a line-out, calling everything. Is sharing responsibility. Dus je gaat verantwoordelijkheid delen. Dus je kan de mensen die vooraan in de line-out staan om te liften, tegen hun zou je kunnen zeggen, oké, het is jouw verantwoordelijkheid om te zorgen dat je teamgenoten in een rechte lijn achter jou staan. Dus dan deel je die verantwoordelijkheid. Jongens, als jullie vragen over een van deze onderdelen hebt, stel ze alsjeblieft, want we willen niet te snel doorheen voor jullie gaan. Okay, then on to the next one. So hookers must take their mark from the assistant referee. Let's see what that looks like. Could you pause it here, Dan? Nou, wat zien we in dit plaatje? We zien de assistant referee de mark hebben aangegeven en de hoeker die staat er eigenlijk links van. Die staat in lijn van zijn eigen spelers. Dit is ook niet een goede manier om de line-out te starten. Dus dit is ook iets wat voorkomen moet worden. Nou, scheidsrechter zet ze hier weer op de goede positie. Nu staat de hoeker precies in het midden. Op die manier heeft de verdediging of het team wat niet ingooit ook een kans om die bal te winnen. Nou, wat gebeurt er nu? Hij gaat weer een stukje naar links. Ja, en een free kick. Dus wat je hier eigenlijk ziet, hij blijft maar verplaatsen. En daar wordt een goede free kick voor gegeven. Hè? Dus hij geeft hem een kans om terug te gaan. Stapt hij weer naar zijn eigen team. Ja, oneerlijke contest. Het is niet een goed moment om zo te starten. Oké, so once formed, no players may step or run into the gap before the throw.
One quick question, Liam. Some referees in the call might not have assistant referees on the sideline. And so I would like to ask the group, just unmute and feel free to say, is that which ways do you think that you could stop this from taking place if you did not have an assistant referee?
Good question, Dan. Yeah, if you unmute yourself or raise your hand up if you want to answer that question or have a guess.
I would put a mark on the line myself.
Mm-hmm.
So stamp on the ground, make the mark, make the hooker clear that's the mark, and don't deviate from it. And then retreat to my referee position to see how it's will evolve.
Yeah, great. En als je, Louis, je had de hand ook omhoog. Did you have the same? Louis, had je hetzelfde?
Ja, ik had inderdaad vergelijkbare opmerkingen, maar dan alleen in situaties waarin het natuurlijk nodig is. Maar daar is waar we het over hebben. Want als het goed gaat, dan geef het compliment.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So then, Louis just said that, you make it clear, but make sure you choose your moment to do it. Do you have anything to add for us, Dan, on this?
It's a really good call. Just one thing is to just keep your eyes on the hooker. Even when you make the mark and you decide that the best position is going towards the back of the line out, you can still run backwards and keep your eyes on the hooker and make sure that they don't step across. Because in this case, if they do step across, it's much easier for them to throw to their own teammate. It's pretty much exactly the same as not throwing straight into the scrum. Yeah. So it's one small tip to make things a little bit easier for you.
Yeah. Great.
Perfect. Next video.
Yeah. Before you go to the next video, I'll
Sorry.
Yeah, just if you can click it away, I'll just quickly translate. So once formed, no players may step in or run into the gap before the throw. Het is een beetje een omslachtige manier om te zeggen, als er een gap gemaakt is, dan mogen er geen spelers daartussen instappen. We gaan zo een video kijken, volgens mij staan er 1 of 2 voorbeelden van. So if you can click on the video now, Dan. Maybe from a bit slow. Dus blauw springt hier in de gap tegen zwart aan. He jumps into the black player. Waardoor hij de bal mist. He misses the ball. And blue wins the line out.
Was this clear or should I replay the video?
Was this a free kick or a penalty?
This is a free kick.
Free kick.
For this. Closing the gap in the line-out is a free kick offense.
Yeah. Unless he takes out a jumper or unless it's dangerous play, but then it's not an offense. Dus behalve als het echt gevaarlijk spel wordt, dan kan het dus ook een penalty zijn. Maar nu, in dit geval was dat niet zo. Right, let's go to the next slide.
Perfect.
This one,
So here's another example of players jumping across in the line-out. I will play the video and try to... Sorry. Again, the videos are not playing full screen. Sorry, give me one moment again. Okay. Making these adjustments as we go. Okay. So what we're trying to keep an eye on here are the Japanese players jumping across. And so I will try to play it at the point where it makes sense. Okay. So see, the lifted player comes across to compete. And as he does so, the players from the Japanese side do not bring him down. In fact, he jumps across and over the top and takes, what we can see here, he has already started to wrap his arms around the blue player who is still in the air. Now, this has been a case of jumping across the line out, which is what offense? Is it a free kick or is it a penalty?
Penalty.
So jumping across in this case is a free kick, but because he jumps across and into the player in the air, which is what we have seen to be a dangerous play in the air, it is therefore, and to the person who just unmuted, correct in the fact that it is a penalizable offense. Why do you think that, very quickly, we have Jakob Piper here, a good referee who also plays advantage to this. And so we had an interesting discussion about if it was dangerous, would you penalize straight away or would you play advantage to this? And the answer to this is that it depends on how dangerous the situation is of the player being taken in the air. If the player has landed dangerously, then it has been advised that you would penalize straight away. And if it's even more dangerous, then you would be thinking about cards. In this case, it was, yes, dangerous from a penalizable offense because he tackled the man in the air, but because of the area in the field where they are, yeah, you can see that they're really close. There's 10 minutes in the game, close to the try line. Yeah, these are the things as referees we need to be thinking of. Yeah, what is the wider context of the game? Yeah, the player landed and was able to play the ball for the maul, and so therefore let's see if blue can try to make something of the play. Yeah, so this, from our perspective, is good refereeing from Jakob Piper. Another example of tackling in the air. So we have blue that has gone up for the ball, red coming across, and you can start to see now red's arms are already wrapping around the blue player. And so that, in your process, when you're looking at things at the lineout, should already be clear. Okay, two players have gone up for the ball. All right, one has gathered it. Now what is the other one doing? This is your cue. And unfortunately, player 4 has landed in a awkward position where they've taken the ball back. And they've just come back for the penalty there. Is this part clear? This is quite an important part of the lineout, and it's of course part of our duty as referees to keep players safe, and so therefore we need to ensure that this is taken care of. Perfect. Okay, we will look for we're looking for problems against the All Blacks in this situation. Yes, I know that I come from New Zealand, but the All Blacks are very good at pushing the rules as far as they can go. I'm willing to admit this. Oh, no. Okay. I've just realized that you're recording the session, so that was probably bad for me to say this. So what we can see here is that Argentina have lifted the player, collected the ball. We already see the All Blacks have put their defensive measures in place to counteract the maul. And we can see here they have already latched on to Argentina and they begin to start driving. Obviously, the Argentina lifter is not that tall. He has not touched the ground yet. Yeah, and so therefore it is an early contact on the lifter. One thing to also note here is watching the player on the right-hand side for the All Blacks with the sort of head tape around his head and the entry that he comes into this attempted maul. So the referee in his position will find it very, very difficult, and players know this. Players look for the referees, they look for where they're standing, and that player with the head tape will know exactly what he's doing here. And so he has come in from the side there to disrupt the Argentina ball. And so from an assistant referee perspective, and of course it depends on what you agree from the referee prior to the game, me personally, I would expect the assistant referee to give me the information that number 17 has come in from the side there as well. Yeah. However, the main focus there is the fact that the All Blacks had pushed and made contact with the lifter prior to him touching the ground, and therefore this is a good penalty kick. Liam.
Yeah. So, usually, of meestal, hè, vanuit een line-out krijg je, zullen we zeggen, ruim de helft van de keren een mol. Maar we gaan nu kijken van, net zoals met een setup voor succes voor de line-out, is dat ook voor de mol. Hè? Er zijn een aantal dingen waar wij kunnen naar kijken om het makkelijker voor onszelf te maken. Als die dingen kloppen, dan zullen er waarschijnlijk mols beter gaan. En als ze niet kloppen, dan kunnen we daar wat aan doen. Dan kunnen we heel veel dingen voorkomen. Dus then we're just going to play, I think for time, one of each. So the illegal construction of the mole, let's just go through that video. If you could pause it just before it starts. Oh, okay, stop. Here. Dus als we gaan kijken naar de setup voor de line-out, zijn we dan happy? Ik zie een hoeker redelijk in het midden, dus prima. Er zijn 2 rechte lijnen, ook prima. En op het moment zijn er geen spelers die in de channel staan. Dus vanaf nu zou ik kunnen zeggen, oké, play on. So if you can play the video then, a bit further. Still happy, still happy. And now, okay, stoppen here. Oh, wait. Yeah, great. Nu zien we, de speler heeft de bal gevangen en die gaat naar beneden. Nou, zoals er in de tekst al staat, blocking by blue number 8. Dus let goed op wat blauw nummer 8 zometeen doet. If you can play it then. En stop. Nou, de speler is nu net neergekomen en ik denk dat je zelf kan inschatten hoeveel kans heeft nu rood om die bal te pakken. Het is echt niks. Dus ze hebben nu gewoon spelers voor de baldrager neergezet, zodat de bal niet gestolen kan worden. Het is niet is dat eerlijk, zou je kunnen denken? Nou, waarschijnlijk niet. Dus dit is obstruction and, as it says in the text, should be a penalty. You can play a bit further. Ja, op dit moment doet de scheidsrechter niks. Maar dit is wel een hele makkelijke mol voor blauw om te winnen. Ja, cheers. Okay, before we go to the next one, ripper must be attached to the jumper. Nou, dit is vertaald als degene die de bal van degene die gelift is ontvangt. Die moet hem zo dicht mogelijk erbij doen. Ze mogen niet de bal naar achter doorgeven. We gaan kijken wat hier gaat gebeuren in het filmpje. You can play the video. And if you can pause it again just before it starts to run. Before they throw in.
Sorry.
No worries. And we can... Oké, stop. We hebben hier weer 2 lijnen. Nou, het is een beetje moeilijk te zien of de hoek er in het midden is, maar het lijkt er wel op. Allebei recht. En de preconditions, so the setup is okay, so we can go through. They both go up. The contest seems fair. En stop. Ja. Nou, hier is hij nog niet zo heel goed te zien. Maar jullie gaan zo meteen wat zien. Dus degene die, je ziet zijn hoofd net niet. Sio Colissi die heeft de bal net gepakt. En je moet opletten waar die zo meteen heen gaat. So you want to watch where the guy who grabs the ball, the ripper, you want to watch where he goes. So if you can play it. So you see number 6. He goes a bit further. So not 6 blue, 6 green. He goes back. Nou. Weer hetzelfde eigenlijk. Doordat hij naar achter beweegt, zelf, kan Italië nooit die bal krijgen. Dat is gewoon niet te doen. De manier hoe ze het zouden moeten doen, is de bal naar achter doorgeven. Dit is al een tijdje geleden een regel geworden. Maar toch nog blijven er veel fouten in komen. Dus hier heb je een van de beste scheidsrechters ter wereld in Wayne Barnes. En die fluit hem niet. Dus this should be a penalty decision. Yeah, I think that's the video right there.
Yes. So this is otherwise known as a long arm transfer.
Yeah.
If you have seen or heard some of the referees talk about this, mainly because, as you can see here, 4 and 7 come across to block that off and transfer the long arm back to number 6, who slides backwards. Yes.
Yeah, and you just want to ignore blue 6 for a second, because that's not the thing we're looking at. But yeah, he's also an issue. Okay, next slide, I guess.
Perfect. Thank you, Liam. So for this next one, we have some more focus on the Maul as such. If you allow me to quickly fix these videos one more time. So now some focus. Before we get into the Maul contest, I would like to pause here to see if anyone had any questions about the Maul setup and about the line-out contest so far. Is everything that we have said so far clear? Happy to receive any questions at this point.
Just maybe if you've got any tips. I think what I find difficult is, or most difficult, is the early contact by of the lifters, because you tend to be watching the contest for the ball, and then whether they come down, you've got to. There can be a lot goes on, and there's often like 5 or 6 bodies around there anyway. Are there any tips on what to look out for, or is it just a case of making sure you've got a good line on the contacting players?
Sure. This is a good question, yeah, because you're absolutely right. There's a lot of things to look at. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes as referees, we're obviously told and taught to look for the ball and to find the ball. And sometimes this can lead us to be too ball focused. And so therefore, when it comes to the line out, yeah, one question to ask yourself would be, where is the value of my of where I should be looking right now? Is it, yeah, to watch the ball being thrown in because we know where the ball's going to go, they're jumping up for it? Or is it to keep the players who are jumping and lifting safe? Yeah. And so therefore, when you are refereeing in the matches, there should be a larger focus to be played on those that are lifted and those that are the lifters and the players that are close by to that situation. Yes. So it's just about sort of changing your perspective, not so much to be ball focused as such, because it only takes a very quick look to see whether or not the player has caught the ball, but to spend your energy and your time and your focus around the players that are within the line out as such. So this is one part of this. Anything to add as well, Liam?
No, I think that you covered it, but does that answer the question? Does it help you a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Ja, dus denken over waar je naar kijkt. Ik heb nog 1 vraag in de chat. There's one question in the chat and one participant putting his hand up. So, how can you explain what you want before the match? Any famous words? Now, I'll try and answer that one. Famous words zou ik natuurlijk wel mee oppassen. Maar het is zeker in de setup, dat setup for success, daar kan je verantwoordelijkheid dus in delen. Dus hoe ik het zelf doe, en iedereen heeft zijn eigen manier natuurlijk, is dat ik vraag aan de teams, meestal zijn het de eerste rijers, dus dit doe ik in het gesprek met de scrum, wie de frontlifters zijn. Dus wie staat er voorin in de line-out. Dit heb je in de ereklasse, zijn het meestal dezelfde mensen die daar starten. In de 4e klasse heb je dat ook. In de jeugd staan ze ook meestal dezelfde mensen ongeveer. En met hun wil je even contact hebben van, ik geef jullie de mark. Zorg dan dat de rest van je team in 1 lijn daarachter staat. Dus dan deel je die verantwoordelijkheid. Je zou natuurlijk ook even met de hoeker kunnen praten over de mark. Dus dat je tegen hem zegt, hey, ik wil graag dat je gaat staan en blijft staan waar ik je neerzet. Of waar de linesman of assistant referee je neerzet. Dus het is eventjes kort sluiten van, hey, dit is wat ik verwacht. En dan wordt het niet een verrassing als je opeens daarvoor gaat fluiten. Ik zou het niet te uitgebreid maken. Dus dat er een heel verhaal gaat zijn over mol setup en al die andere dingen. Je moet het wel een beetje kort houden. Maar ik denk dat die 2 onderdelen belangrijk zijn. Is dat delen van die verantwoordelijkheid voor de setup. En verder denk ik niet dat je er veel meer van moet maken. Maar dat is natuurlijk mijn eigen interpretatie. Ik hoop dat dat het beantwoordt. Anders moet je zelf even unmuten. Even kijken. Koen, je had nog een vraag.
Ja, in de vorige video, die line-out van Zuid-Afrika, zie je dat de tegenstander die meespringt ook de arm wegslaat van de Zuid-Afrikaan.
Okay, Dan, can you go back to the previous slide and play the South Africa-Italy one again? Dus de... Even kijken. Ja.
In wedstrijdsituaties zie je er heel vaak gebeuren. In dit geval houdt hij de bal, dus is er verder niks aan de hand. Maar je ziet heel vaak dat ze niet bij de bal kunnen, maar dan wel voor de armen van de catcher gaan.
Ja, en dat is een hele belangrijke, inderdaad. Goed dat je dat zegt, daar wil je echt op focussen. Want als hij hem zo naar beneden trekt, dan kan diegene die naar beneden getrokken wordt, die kan zichzelf niet beschermen. Dus hier laat hij hem los, so you let's go in time. En de band zelf.
Maar wat als hij nou de bal verliest?
Ja, dan wordt het niet zijn. Kan je dus zeggen dat het een penalty is.
Ja, oké.
Hoor ik muziek bij iemand?
Sorry, I hear music.
Ja, het is Ab van Kersberg die heeft muziek aan staan.
Oké.
I've muted it. Koen, is een hele goeie inderdaad. Dus dat is zeker iets waar je voor wil kijken. Maar goed dat je dat zegt inderdaad. In deze line-out komt Italië ermee weg, zou ik zeggen. Ja. Dus hij kwam ermee weg dat hij zijn arm daar deed. Omdat gewoon de nummer 5 van Zuid-Afrika zich niet zo snel omver laat trekken. Maar dit is zeker iets waarvoor je moet waken. Dus goed dat je het zegt. Ja, dankjewel. Oké, thanks Dan.
Okay, now we get along to the Maul contest, and in particularly collapsing the Maul. It's particularly important to know that sometimes the Maul kind of just goes down naturally due to sometimes teams work up such a fast pace, and there's a difference there between that and another team pulling down or tackling players within the Maul to collapse it. Yeah, and so we will look at this. Okay, so we have the Chiefs versus the Blues here. The ball is thrown back.
What did you think of the setup of the lineup, Dan?
Oh,
just a quick
sorry.
check before we start the lineup. Are we happy?
Sure.
Yeah, right.
So this is, good point, Liam. So in terms of the overall setup, we can see that the hooker is on the mark, and alongside the AR, equal number of players within the line-out, receivers 2 meters back, and the opposition hooker in the tram line. One thing to note, and I'm not sure why this player was missed because of the brightness of his boots, but of course the offside line is in this case on the try line or behind the try line. In normal case is 10 meters, and so therefore an assistant referee in this case would also should be in this case telling that player to move backwards. Yeah. Continuing on with the line out, we have Sam Cane catching the ball. Here is also one thing to take a note is where the entry of the blue players are being positioned. The maul has been effectively created. Players naturally move off. And then we see blue player number 6 here. And this is obviously, I mean, this player has no intention of driving into the maul correctly. His feet are not on the ground. He's pulling the player directly to the ground. Yeah, and so therefore Sam Cane is brought to the ground. This situation here of him directly pulling it down, in my view, when you're looking at something that is sort of 34 minutes into the game, 5 meters out from the try line and directly disrupting play like this, I'm not saying that that directly should be a yellow card, but these types of situations should not be accepted in the game. And therefore, I would advise that that you as referees could take this as a way of managing the players away from the ball. So perhaps in the next break at a scrum or line out or whatever, to have a word against 6 and say, hey, I saw what you did there by bringing down the maul. Be careful, especially where you are in the field here. Yeah, just to let them know, because this type of play, dragging down the maul like this in some scenarios can be particularly dangerous. We have another video here where we have Wales and Italy. Unfortunately, it doesn't give us too much of an insight of the overall setup, so I will just go straight to the focus area, which is the maul. One thing to note is that look where the lift is as such. Once the player starts moving to the ground, look where those lifters go, directly in front of the ball carrier. And so that's one thing to keep in mind. And you can see here on the right hand side, number 1 from Wales directly pulls down number 4, who's latched on to other players, and the maul is therefore gone down. You can see that the assistant referee is right on that and gives the call over to the referee into the middle. And so therefore, because the ball becomes playable, an advantage is played. And so therefore, we think that this is what a good scenario looks like. And so now to one of the points, which is what we mentioned before around swimming.
Just one break, 1 second. Tim, I think you got a. Do you have a question?
Good question. Does the referee in that situation, does he have to have called maul?
I can't hear you, Tim.
Sorry, would the referee have called maul in that situation?
Could do, maybe. You can.
But doesn't have to have called maul.
Sorry?
It doesn't have to have called maul.
The player should know that this would have been a maul.
No, yeah, but this is a very good point. Yeah,
I was tackling at the ball. But yeah, it's a good point.
It's a good point because in some cases, of course, sacking is still allowed at the lineout as long as it's done immediately. And what immediately means to some players is not what immediately looks like to the referee. And so therefore, some proactive communication on calling a maul. Of course, you don't need to, but in some cases, it can help to help the players know that once you call maul, that you cannot sack or you cannot tackle or you cannot pull down the ball carrier or other players anymore. Yeah, so this is a good point.
Yeah, and
is it correct? Sorry, is it correct that with the sacking, that it means is that when the lifter just lands with his feet on the ground, that the opposition can pull him down immediately?
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any further movement towards the maul, then it's not allowed anymore.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right.
So the law actually states immediately, And so therefore, we must referee to this as well. And so it's a very good point. I think you've clarified it very well. I won't add to that anymore.
Yeah. Okay. And one more question, Christian.
Yeah, both situations are clearly driving forward Maul on a 5-meter line. When would you start awarding a penalty try in this situation?
Yeah, when there's a probable try prevented. Ja, dus als jij heel waarschijnlijk oogt dat hij gescoord zou zijn, als hij dat niet had gedaan, dan kan je het geven. Maar dat is dus heel afhankelijk van de hoeveelheid spelers. It depends how many players there are, how quickly it was going, but you could be thinking towards penalty tries in this situation. Maar het moet dus echt zijn als je er heel waarschijnlijk oogt dat de trui gescoord zou worden als deze speler dit niet had gedaan, dan kan je het geven. Dus de plaats van het veld zou niks mee te maken moeten hebben, maar het zou te maken mee moeten hebben of je denkt dat hij zou scoren. Helpt dat, Christian?
Yeah, partly because, of course, the fall is made to prevent the scoring. Probably on somewhere along the midline, this would not have happened.
Yeah. So what Dan was saying about the yellow card. So even if you think maybe I'm not too sure if he would score, you could still say because it's so near the try area, you could award or give that yellow card to the player.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you for that. Okay, sorry, because I know that we've only got 12 minutes left, so I might sort of hurry along a little bit. These two next ones are very important. So what the swimming looks like in this case. Swimming is when a player is not properly bounded to the maul and essentially swims or goes around the outside of the maul. So in this case, Wales sets up a maul. We can see that number 5 from Argentina in the blue headgear is essentially part of the maul. But then he moves out to the side and then he starts this freestyle motion where he's not bound to anything and he goes around the outside of the maul, not through it, around to the back and grabs onto the ball carrier. This is a video example of what swimming looks like and is therefore not allowed in our game and is a penalizable offense. Yeah,
it's a very unfair way of getting to the ball, right, Dan? It's not. Yeah, it's a bit. That's why it's a penalty.
Exactly. So as referees, we're trying to promote what? A fair contest between teams. A player not bound to the maul and basically swimming around the outside is not a fair contest. He does not go through the maul, and so therefore it is a penalizable offence. Is this part clear? Because swimming is from what was seen at the Rugby World Cup to be pretty. It was a large area of focus, and moving forward, World Rugby has seen this to be a focus for all referees. Yeah.
Maybe one question: if we would have gone let's say straight to the middle, not the outside, but would not be bound anymore, then it was okay. Huh?
Exactly. So when you're going through the maul, even though that's it's a tough thing to do, but if you do manage to get through, this is a fair contest. You're still bound to the maul. Yeah.
Yeah, rugby's played on your feet and going forward in most parts. So if you're on your feet and going forward, there's not too much you can do wrong. So, but this player from Argentina wasn't going forward; he was going around.
Perfect. Sorry, Liam, just keep me up to date with the questions in the chat because unfortunately I can't see them when I present my screen.
I got you.
So moving on to the final focus for the maul contest is changing lanes, and this will become relatively clear in a second. This is a tactic used by, I would say, most teams in senior divisions where they look to form a maul to start with, they concentrate all of the opposition players to that first initial maul, and then after the first shove, they break away, and what is called here changing lanes. And so that's when some players in the maul break away in an act to form a different maul going into a different direction. And so part of this is that Fiji, through good defense, even though it did look messy, there was no real areas of concern. We're forcing the Australian maul towards the sideline. So Australia broke away. They changed their lanes as what any good attack would do. However, what has happened is that there are players in front of the ball carrier. Yeah, and so from a referee's perspective, I mean, this referee should be thinking at this stage, okay, breakaway, there are players in front of the ball carrier, obstruction. Yeah, the Fijian players do not have clear access to the ball carrier, and therefore it is not a fair contest for the Fijian players. Because of this, Australia have worked forward and have been awarded a try. And so World Rugby have seen this to be a high impact decision made incorrectly. The try should not have been awarded. There was a clear obstruction.
And these are extremely difficult to spot, eh, Dan? It's this is don't beat yourself up too much. Als het niet meteen lukt, het is echt. Je moet heel veel video's zien. You got to see a lot of videos of it to recognize it.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, even the referee is in a really good position here. He can see the ball. He knows who the ball carrier is. He can see that there are sort of players in front here, but it's really, really difficult to see. I mean, it's easier for us because we're slowing down frame by frame, but in real time, it is incredibly difficult, as Liam says. But it is something that we should look for because this is a clear tactic from teams. Is this part clear? Any questions regarding collapsing the maul, swimming, or changing lanes?
Hoorde heel even iemand. Richard.
Yeah, just a quick question. Is changing lanes, is that also truck and trailer, or is truck and trailer something else?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so in this context, changing lanes means that players within the maul have broken out, changed their direction, and are now going in a different way. Truck and trailer is a phrase given in this case to the obstruction that has taken place. So changing lanes is the action. Truck and trailer is the outcome of what has happened when done wrong.
Right, thanks.
Good question.
I have another one. Is changing lanes, sometimes you see the maul going sideways, then the back of the maul breaks off and goes forward. That's also changing lanes. Is that the same infringement as we've seen so far?
So yes, that is changing lanes. Let's remember that changing lanes is not illegal. Yeah. In this case, the part that makes it illegal or penalizable is that there are players in front of the ball carrier when they change their lanes. And this part is the part that we need to be focusing on. So to answer your question, yes, that is true. However, if the ball carrier is at the front and the defending opposition have clear access to the ball carrier, then this is fine.
Okay, so it's it doesn't matter if they go forward or sideways or whatever the mole does, doesn't matter, as long as when they break off, there's access to tackle the ball carrier.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you. Good question.
See one last hand going up. Brian?
Yeah, I think that's me. Put the microphone down. I think it also matters about how because it's really about the break in contact at the front of the maul, isn't it? And if the defending side have broken up and broken away, there's no problem. It's that the attacking side is causing the breakaway with the players in front of the carrier.
Yeah, definitely. Defenders leaving a mole doesn't stop a mole from being a mole.
That's right. Yeah, that's my point exactly. So it's the fact that the attacking side have caused the break at the front of their mole. They've broken contact. They have players in front of the ball carrier, and that's what makes it penalized.
Yeah,
Well said.
Good point,
Well
Brian.
said. So this is the last summary screen. What I will do is hand over to Liam, because this is the part where we sort of wrap up what we've discussed tonight.
Ja, nou, ik doe dit even in het Nederlands. We hebben zometeen nog 1 of 2 video's gaan we nog kijken voor mensen die nog tijd over hebben en een paar video's zelf willen bekijken. Maar we hebben eigenlijk 3 gedeeltes waar we naar kijken. Je hebt de setup, dus voor de jump, wat hier staat. De hoeker op de mark. Er moet een duidelijke gap zijn. En we moeten zorgen dat spelers niet in de andere line-out springen. En dat is gedeelte 1 eigenlijk. Dit zijn dan je focuspunten. Daarna gaan we richting de setup van de mol eigenlijk. Want als ze meteen de bal weggooien, nou, dan prima. De setup van de mol. Nou, dan moet er dus niet een speler de verdediging stoppen om bij de bal te komen. So no player in front of the ball. No long arm transfer. Hè, dus je moet hem pas overpakken dichtbij. En no tackling of a lifter by the defense. Hè, dus dat was die early push filmpjes die we hebben gezien. Hè, dus we zijn van de setup van de line-out en het springen naar de setup van de mol gegaan. En als laatste, en echt een van de moeilijkste, de drive. En dit is dus de attacker does not change lanes to progress. En defense, side entry en collapse. Dit zijn de stukken die we hebben gezien. En dit zijn eigenlijk je focuspunten door de verschillende fases van de setup van de line-out naar de line-out naar de setup van de mol. Dit is een makkelijkere manier om het voor jezelf in een proces te houden. Albert, hand is omhoog. One hand raised.
Yeah, just in general, I don't know what Dan has to say about that, but something I've noticed in the last couple of years is that hookers always have their feet, almost over the line when they throw in the ball. Well, I believe the rule is that your feet need to be behind the line. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a very specific one, but yes, important. So, of course, we do have a law in place for that, which is stepping over the line, which is a free kickable offence. I would urge referees that when you are looking at things, particularly at the line-out, there are, as we've previously said, a lot of things to look at. If the player who's in the hooker position is clearly stepping over the line, then I would say absolutely you've got the right as the referee to free kick this offence, because it's not part of the game. If it's a foot of the line, I would say in all seriousness that I think that your concentration is probably due elsewhere and towards those who are being lifted and those who are around the player being lifted and the lifting players, etc. Yeah, and so if it's what I would say to you, if it's clear and obvious, get it. If not, don't make a problem your problem, I would say.
Yeah. This is something you can solve if you have assistant referees. They can help you. But if you don't worry too much about it. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
simply talk to them. Yeah, maybe at the next line out and say, hey, you stepped over the line. Don't do that again or else I'll free kick you. And then he'll get the message, I'm sure. But it's a good question. Yeah, how specific do you look? And so I hope I've helped with that.
Yeah, cheers. But because the trend is in all the videos you also see here is that they are actually not standing behind the line even before the throw in. And they just it's almost like maybe the next phase is going to be that they'll be stepping into the pitch before they throw in. So
good point.
Yeah,
good point. Thank you for that.
One more raised hand.
Cheers, thanks.
Eduard.
Yeah, in contradiction to engaging the mole, I've seen teams in 5-meter lineouts in defense stepping sideways and not engaging the mole. How would you referee that situation?
Sorry, stepping which way?
Sideways, so to the sideline and to the posts. So they don't back up. They step all of the defense steps to the side and doesn't engage the mole.
Yeah.
So basically there doesn't exist a mole because the defense has not made contact.
Yeah, this is a really, really good point. Parts of World Rugby have been very clear about this. Players cannot leave the line out once they're in. Yeah, and so if players are stepping out of the line out into the 5-meter area or backwards towards their own offside backline, offside line, then this is not allowed. You can't leave the line out early. Yeah, so look for this. If they are not competing at the line out, there's obvious reasons for this. In some cases, it is because the team who is not competing is using it as a tactic against a team who usually has quite a strong forward pack or a strong maul. Couple of things to look at here, and we've already said them a couple of times tonight, is that if this situation happens, look for the ball. That is the first thing to do. Has the lifted player who caught the ball and is now the ball carrier, has he transferred the ball backwards? Yeah, and are the teams starting to progress? If the player has transferred the ball backwards, World Rugby has said to give the team who has the ball one warning to use it and get it out of there. Yeah. If they do not do so, then it will be a scrum to the opposition team. World Rugby have been clear that they do not want penalties for obstruction here because they see it as being not necessarily something that we want to reward. Yeah, we want to see contests. We want to see teams mauling. We want to see, because this is a very unique and great part of our game. Yeah. And so it will only be a scrum.
But Daniel, oh, sorry.
If the ball carrier has not transferred the ball, oh, sorry, it's quite loud. If the ball carrier has not transferred the ball and they have set up some players behind them and they start to progress forward, then this is fine, as long as the defending team has access to the ball carrier. I hope that I've been clear with this.
Crystal.
Yeah, it's part of our Ereklasse standards. If people want to check this in 3 easy lines, it's on the website of rugby.nl. Yeah, you can download those standards and it's explained as well.
Yeah. So now we've come to the sort of the end part of our presentation. So you should have all the information by now that you need. So if people are busy or need to do other things, then you don't need to stay for the next bit. But we do want to show you not all of these. We're going to do 1 or 2. And we have a small assignment for you. So we'll show 1 or 2 of these twice. And we'd like for you to write in the chat what you think of the lineout. So are you happy with the setup? So you write on setup happy or setup yeah or yes, and then maybe after that you can write if you've seen an offense, anything we think we would need to sort of blow our whistle for, and we'll discuss a few of the answers, and Dan and I will sort of share our opinion of it. So first we'll pause the video on just before the lineout so you can look up at the setup. Are you happy? Yes, no. And then we'll run it twice, and then you can sort of write down what do you think of the lineout.
Okay. Which number would you like? Unmute, just tell me a number.
Yeah.
Bit of bingo.
Exactly.
5, because it's Ireland.
Very good. Okay. Oh, sorry. This presentation, sorry, it's very difficult to use.
So let's pause it just before the start. So are we happy? Wait before you send in your thing. Okay, and then let's run it through twice, Dan.
Sure. I will play in slow motion.
Yeah. Better for the internet connection.
Yeah, for the internet. Okay, now one more time.
Yep.
I hope there's comments coming through. I can't see them.
Okay, so if you can write.
I'm watching on my phone, so I can type and watch at the same time.
Okay, then we'll get to you in a second, Elko. Seeing a couple of others. Okay, let's give people just a few seconds to write their answers.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll talk you through what we're getting through then. So Stuart is saying setup is okay, but 7 white is blocking. Also seeing white hooker off the mark by a few people. Obstruction by white, hooker not on the mark. White 16 takes a meter off the mark. Green early contact is what Richard is saying. Yeah. 19 green side entry and swimming up. Setup seems good. Lift is in front of the lifter when landing. Hooker not on the mark. Green 6 collapsing the Maul. Green 18 releasing and engaging again. Brian asked, did the white players not leave the liner early? No, they can switch around, but just not inside the tunnel. But they can. What they did is fine, Brian. So hooker was actually on the 5 meter mark. Someone saying, Elko, did you have anything else to add? I think it was Elko, you unmuted, right?
Sorry, no, I think everything is said.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that for the majority of comments here, I think we're spot on. So well done to those commenting in the chat. Part of what we said earlier on in the setup, by keeping our eyes on the hooker, we can see he has established himself, and then he starts to take a big step over towards his team. And again, another little one to make it easier for the throw. That is what I would say, a clear stepping across the mark. For those who said 7 white is blocking, spot on.
Definitely.
Spot on. I would say that in all scheme of things, if you miss the hooker, of course it's a missed decision. However, I would expect referees to see this, and especially Jaco, who I perceive as being a very, very good referee. Despite a lot of criticism he's had, I perceive him as being a very good referee. I think that that is a very clear blocking and obstruction made by 7 white.
Yeah.
From here onwards, it has completely disintegrated, and therefore I think Jaco has just picked one of several things there. Yeah, but the main ones to be said on number 5 are right at the beginning. So well done to those who got that.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that Green also did a few things that maybe weren't by the book, but the first offense, and the most important when the line out started, is 7 white, and you could say something about the setup. I think we both agree on that one, but it's not the major thing here.
Yeah.
Should we do one more?
One more. Sorry, everyone, that we've gone a little bit over time here. I hope that this presentation is helping, and so therefore, yeah, I'm happy to do one more. If someone wants to choose a random number for me, except 5, obviously.
10. I see
Number 10.
One in the chat says 10.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Sorry.
So again, the same thing. Are you happy with the setup? And then we'll run it twice. And please type in what do you think about the lineouts. Okay. Let's run it twice then.
Yeah. Okay, one more time.
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of the comments that came through?
Right, so people are quite happy with the setup, except for Louis says that Obed will probably say, look at the feet of the hooker. Fair enough. So the setup, people are happy with the setup. Blue winger is over the line, the one that you said, Dan. I think that's true. He's in the 5. Oh, he's off the trial area. A lot of people are having issues with blue. So number 2, number 18, number 2. Maybe someone's saying red 5 maybe blocking, but most people are saying blue 18 coming behind. So a lot of issues with blue. What would you say, Dan?
Fantastic. Yeah, some really good comments. I would again say that the overall setup is fine. From here, the lifters have set to the side of the lifted player, and not in front of him. And so therefore, I would be happy that the blue players have access to the lifted player, or to the ball carrier in this case. And so from my perspective, up to here is fine. I would agree here, this is not what we see as being an entry from the gate, or from behind. This is a clear entry from the side. He doesn't have too much impact on the overall maul, and so therefore Angus Gardner, the referee, is doing what I perceive as being the right thing to do at this time, and to be proactive. We can also see the assistant referee in the background who yelled at, I think it is number 18 with no hair, to get also back, because he is also joining from the side as well. So those who have commented on side entry from number 2 and number 18, I would say bang on. Well done. Very well spotted.
Koen also commented that a few of the blue players are lifting legs and stuff, and I think that's a sort of they don't pull it down, but it's a sort of a trigger warning for yourself to see, okay, they're in big trouble and they're not, in a dominant position in that mall. So blue is in a lot of trouble, right?
Blue's in a lot of trouble here. Red, you can see the ball carrier at the back of the mall is 2 meters from the try line. Number 2, in a drastic effort to try and stop the maul from taking place, directly comes into the side and tackles the ball carrier to the ground just short of the line.
And this is the clear example we sort of wanted to see for what Angus is going to do next, is give the penalty try.
Yeah, so there was a very good point raised halfway through the session by a gentleman asking about when to award a penalty try. This is a clear situation of a dominant side moving forward at a fast pace towards the try line and in a very realistic position to stop the ball, to award a try.
Yeah.
The blue team.
Was this the last World Cup?
It was.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Because I think this was the match where he didn't give the yellow card for the penalty try.
That's correct.
I think you're supposed to. He was supposed to. He's supposed to give the yellow card if he awards the penalty try, isn't he?
Yeah. So Ilko, who would you give that yellow card to?
And number 2.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah.
But he didn't. But actually he didn't in this match.
Yeah, he should have.
He didn't yellow card him.
Yeah. No, he definitely should have, and it's maybe, and I don't know what went through Angus's head at the moment. He was just a bit too trigger happy to think, oh, I need to give the penalty try. I've seen it, and then he forgot to look who was the offending player. So when he ran towards the post, he didn't know who we would be sending to the bin.
Correct.
This
but
is just
a
a
very
mental
good learning. A very good learning. So those that are looking and watching Angus in this case, is that if you are going to award a penalty try, as referees, we should have a very clear focus and a very clear process about when we would award a penalty try and what happens afterwards. Yeah, and so when you are thinking, okay, that is a clear penalty try, who is the player at fault? Okay, number 2 blue, let's award the penalty try and then give the yellow card. So well said. Yeah, good point.
Good question as well. Right, I think that's it for us.
Yes.
Because we're already 20 minutes over, 19, not even 20 minutes.
It's good. I can see you're having fun, guys. Dan, thank you very much. Yeah. True learning is when you can teach something you've been taught back to others. Yeah, then you realize yourself, do you understand it or not? And we can clearly see you understood it. Okay. Thank you very much. This was one of 6 sessions that the Rugby Europe referees, our educators and our referee coaches have been following with the big boss of World Rugby, Alan Rowland. Okay, nobody has missed anything, because if you come to de regio bijeenkomsten volgende jaar, okay, krijgt iedereen precies hetzelfde inhoud. Dus dit was 1 van de 6 sessies. Krijg je de andere 5 sessies tijdens de RDD's, de regio bijeenkomsten. En we doen volgende jaar weer webinars, niet elke 2 weken. Oké, dat was de laatste van 5 sessies voor de vakantie. Ik ga het niet vragen in de chat. Ik ga je vertellen wat ik neem mee. Ik wens dat jullie ook meenemen. Het gaat over processen. Oké? Je moet duidelijk kunnen opschrijven. Er zijn 5 of 6 situaties in de wedstrijd. Wat is jouw proces bij een line-out? En hou het simpel. Okay. Tweede neem ik mee. Het is niet altijd zwart-wit. Okay. Empathy. Alan Rowland, elke 2 zinnen zegt hij empathy. We hebben gezien in de sessie wedstrijdanalyse van Liam, Rutger en Riette. Een referee wil absoluut niet penalties fluiten. Hoe kan ik het voorkomen? Okay. De betere refs kunnen penalties voorkomen. Dus denk voor jezelf, wat betekent dat voor jou? Okay. En de derde wat ik neem mee, samen worden we beter. Dus dit soort sessies, praat met iedereen, kom naar de regio bijeenkomsten. Volgende webinar, 24 augustus. Dirk komt met een uitleg over nieuwe speelregels. Er is geen enkele nieuwe speelregel volgend jaar vanuit World Rugby. Geen enkel. Ik hoor nieuwe speelregel bij de breakdown. Er is geen nieuwe speelregel bij de breakdown. Een iets andere interpretatie. Dat wordt uitgelegd op de 24 augustus. Okay. Er komen nieuwe speelregels bij de jeugd. Okay. Een paar simpel veranderingen. Dus wil je dat weten? 24e wordt uitgelegd. De competitie begint weer 4 oktober. Dus 4 oktober hebben de clubs in de AOW besloten. Ja? Dus we beginnen pas 4 oktober. Heb je vragen, heb je opmerkingen? crs@rugby.nl. Dan, thank you. Liam, thank you. Have a great summer. Dan, have a great move of house when you actually find one. Dan's moving to Berlin, so we're not going to see him in the Dutch competition anymore. Okay, back to refereeing in Germany.
Thank God.
I will send you my German football shirt, Dan. Okay. And we see everybody after the summer. Have a great time. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Michael. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Very much, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.